welcome back to Thinking Out Loud. My name is Adriana. Today I'm wearing these glasses. I bought them at Nordstrom. If you love them as much as I do, use my discount code Thinking Out Loud for 20% off at checkout. But because I'm not an influencer, that's not what I do. I'm going to put on my reading glasses because I'm blind as a bat. Today's video was inspired by Lisette Calv. She is an influencer coach on Instagram. She's also a content creator herself. And she posted a video a couple of days ago talking about how the influencer industry just doesn't get the respect that it deserves. And it's may be primarily because 85% of the influencer industry is dominated by women. I've had Thai tea and I've had coffee. I think this is the most energy I've had on any of my videos. So let's go. I want to start off by defining what influencer is, like the dictionary definition. Influencer is defined as a person or thing that influences another. Really that simple. However, because influencers now are such an important role in anybody's business marketing strategy, the market defines an influencer as someone who causes others to make a specific consumer decision. So, there's that. I'd like to add that in my opinion, I think there's two kinds of influencers, right? There is the hype/flex influencer. This is someone who kind of, or historically seen, to this type of influencer, all publicity is good publicity. This type of influencer typically is involved in scandals. You could just tell by the scandals they get involved in, by the comments they say. They're messy individuals. And overall, it appears to be that their aim is to sell you this fantasy dream life that makes people kind of just envy them and wish they were them. So that's one type, right? The second kind of influencer I think exists is the true influencer. I say true influencer because this type of influencer organically grows their community. They definitely have like a target audience or like a niche of people that follow them, I've observed, right? This type of influencer typically serves their audience content that has substance. When I mean substance, I mean they provide solutions, provide a product. They are the type of influencer that engages with their followers, and for the most part, I think has healthy relationship between like their followers, their life, and you can just tell like by their non-problematic ways, the way that they're not ever involved in like the influencer drama that exists now. They're kind of like quality influencers. I know this sounds very opinion based, but it's what I've observed, right? And the reason why I have to make those two distinctions or point out those two differences is because I think that the word influencer has such a bad connotation because of the scandalous and messy influencers that exist. I don't think I need to name them. I think one or two will automatically pop into your head. I think one of the reasons why Lisette created that post in the first place was because HBO Max just released a documentary where it's called, what is it called? Making an Influencer, or Fake Famous, right? And the producer of the documentary pretty much picked 3 random people, brought them to LA, and tried to make them influencer famous or Instagram famous. And I think that's also like one of the big problems with the term, with it's one of the reasons why there's such a negative, why there's such a stigma behind the word influencer, because 20-30 years ago people were coming to LA to become movie stars, and as of like 5 to 7 years ago, people started moving to LA to become like YouTube sensations or influencers. People come to California, come to LA to get famous, right? And I think for the most part, America is obsessed with celebrities. So I think it's difficult to own the label of influencer without judgment coming onto you right away. And that's the whole point of this video. Is to talk about the respect that the influencers who are actually paving a new path for the younger generations. I think it's time that they get the recognition that they deserve, because a lot of these influencers are women. And this was another observation that I made. And it's funny because Lisette, the content creator who posted her video, she talked about today on her Instagram about how prior to becoming an influencer coach and prior to becoming a content creator, she actually, as a young girl, she wanted to be a meteorologist, right? And then she talked briefly about her career choices that led her to the content creator, influencer coach she is today. I want to add that I have also observed that all the women who are like kicking ass as influencers, who have like this incredible online presence, online personality that clearly transcends like on and offline, I believe were the same young girls who grew up watching shows such as Sex and the City, maybe romantic comedies such as like The Proposal with Sandra Bullock. Let's see, maybe That's So Raven. Let's see, who else? Those are just a few. And the reason why I mention them is because back in the days, we used to see all kinds of like romantic comedies, and we used to have strong female leads in just media altogether, who were independent women in like their mid-20s, early 30s, who were businesswomen who worked at like these corporate jobs as like the marketing director or like the project director, right? And we saw this growing up. And so I think subconsciously that influenced our career choices today. Go back like 10, 15, even 20 years, women, the type of jobs that women desired a couple years, like 10 years ago, were centered around journalism, marketing, public relations, fashion, maybe even career choices such as like a meteorologist, which is like the weather girl, or your local news broadcaster, right? And I say that confidently because I too was one of those girls. Like when I was younger, I used to envision myself like mid-20s, early 30s, living in a penthouse, manifesting that for myself, penthouse, being a successful like businesswoman. And till this day, I don't know what kind of business I envisioned myself doing. I just remember envisioning that for myself, right? And when we look at the lifestyles that so many of like the top grossing like influencers are living, it's those lifestyles. It's like these luxurious apartments, right? And these lavish lifestyles where they have the freedom to travel and to try new things, and they're involved in fashion. And the thing is, I mentioned both the hypey / flex influencer and then the true influencer, because we constantly see this lifestyle, right? And it's really hard to differentiate who's putting the work and is actually producing like that gross income and who's just flexing on the gram for us on YouTube, and who's flexing on us, right? It's important to note that there are influencers just in general who take their job serious. They do this full time, and those influencers are easily making 6 to 7 figures annually. It's reported that in 2022 the influencer industry is going to be worth $15 billion. So for people to not give influencers the respect that they have rightfully earned is it's ridiculous, because they influencers nowadays are wearing so many hats. They are their own, especially when they're starting up, they're their own like marketing team. They have to learn like marketing strategies, like digital marketing strategies. They have to schedule different like their posts. Like it actually does require a lot of scheduling. It does require a lot of strategy. And I think a lot of influencers have started to talk about the money that they have to put into growing their image, into growing their online presence, right? And most importantly, I think it's important to notice that especially the influencers who are starting off small, growing their following organically, building relationships with the people that follow them back, those are the people who have really created brands beyond their online presence. For example, I remember when I was younger, maybe like 11 or 12 years old, the very first influencer of my life, and I couldn't even call her an influencer back then, I just used to say I watched her on YouTube, was Dulce Candy. Dulce Candy was one of like the OG beauty YouTubers back in like 2010. I remember watching her on YouTube and watching her do her makeup, watching her put outfits together on YouTube, and then finally making her first blog, and her talking about the transition of like YouTube and then making a blog and trying to bring them together. She is really the person who ignited my passion for fashion. I remember I was in 8th grade and I asked my mom to take me on a shopping spree because I had learned from Dulce Candy what a boho style was and what a boho chic style was, and I wanted to be boho chic so bad. A second example, and I think this is kind of like the biggest example I could give right now, Desi Perkins. Desi Perkins started off on YouTube. She created her online persona. She created an online brand for herself and her husband. She created it with her best friend and her best friend's now husband or fiance, I don't know. And Desi has really made an entire name for herself beyond YouTube. She now has her own products, and I'm sure she's coming close to becoming like a household name, right? So to that, I have to say congratulations for being like the pioneers of this new industry and for setting an example, because Desi, Dulce Candy, they're some of the influencers that I've followed from the beginning who you've never heard in scandals, you've just kind of by what they put out, you know that they work really hard, and they've managed to stay relevant over the years. So with that being said, this entire conversation has inspired me to start a new mini series here on my YouTube channel. I'm going to get your favorite influencer and interview them just so we can know what their journey was like, get inside of their head, and maybe we learn a thing or two from them. And at the end of the day, it is becoming a very what's the word? Rewarding career choice. Some people say that's not a great career choice, but I think at the end of the day, it's a business. And if you are savvy enough or you are dedicated enough to learn the business learn the industry, the influencer industry business, then it just might be for you. Just like any other career choice, you need to have what it takes to be A, B, or C, right? Like not everyone can be a doctor. Not everyone can be a business owner. Not everyone can be an influencer. And it takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of bravery to put yourself out there because you know that you have to reach a level of popularity or fame in order to get the higher paying gigs, to get the higher paying partnerships, or what do they do? It's like, sponsorships, right? So it's like, I think to, I think especially in 2021, to try to downplay what an influencer does and to downplay the efforts that go behind becoming an influencer is a little naive. And honestly, don't knock it till you try it. You know, like if you, I'm sure a lot of people don't have the courage to put themselves out there or the just drive to really be pushy and to try to get the deals that you want to land, because at the end of the day you're making a bunch of different business deals with a bunch of different companies, and on top of all of that, imagine having to juggle the stress of not losing yourself in the hype of becoming an influencer. So with that being said, kudos to the influencers who are making it out there, to all the women who are setting such great examples, and continue to rock on. That is all for today. Thank you for if you made it all the way to the end. This is Thinking Out Loud, and stay tuned because I have some very exciting interviews coming up. Thank you, and bye bye.